Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here today with us. Now, before we begin this event, I would like to share a few words in Spanish about what we'll be discussing today. So, buenas tardes. Me llamo Ricardo Coronado. Soy un vocero para Cal Fire. Y gracias por acompañarnos con el día de hoy. Estamos aquí para reconocer y celebrar un gran logro, un gran avance sobre un recurso que Cal Fire utilizará para combatir los incendios forestales. Y estamos hablando sobre la adición de un segundo avión que está de mis espaldas, que se conoce como el C-130H. Y este avión se forma parte de los esfuerzos que Cal Fire utilizará para combatir los incendios forestales. El avión puede descargar 4,000 galones de retardante en cada vuelo y tiene una velocidad de operación de 368 millas por hora. El año pasado, el primer avión C-130 operativo de Cal Fire fue puesto en servicio. Y desde entonces ha respondido a 36 incendios forestales y ha lanzado más de 253,000 galones de retardante. También quiero decir que ese avión fue un recurso importante, fundamental, para ayudar a combatir contra el incendio Palisades que sucedió en la área de Los Ángeles el pasado enero. Este esfuerzo y este logro no habría sido posible sin el liderazgo y el compromiso de varios socios importantes, incluyendo la difunta senadora Dianne Feinstein, quien ayudó a hacer realidad esta visión, el congresista Ken Calvert, el senador Alex Padilla, la Fuerza Aérea de los Estados Unidos y la Guardia Costera de los Estados Unidos, quienes ayudaron con la transferencia de estos aviones. Y por supuesto, el gobernador Gavin Newsom, por su continuo apoyo a los esfuerzos de Cal Fire para mejorar nuestros equipos y recursos. La llegada de este segundo avión es muy importante. Nos ayuda con la preparación y nos ayuda a proteger las vidas, propiedades y los recursos naturales en toda California. Estamos muy orgullosos de este logro y el significado que tiene para el futuro de la respuesta a incendios en todo el estado de California. Y para más información, para estar preparados y informados, visita nuestra página web readyforwildfire.ca.gov y fire.ca.gov. Muchas gracias por su tiempo. Y the next speaker on our list I would like to introduce is Cal OES Chief Deputy Director Tina Curry.
All right, good afternoon. I'm Tina Curry. I'm Chief Deputy Director of the Operations at the California Governor's Office of Emergency Services. Cal OES is proud to stand here today and with our partners at CAL FIRE and with fire agencies across California. Now more than ever, protecting our communities in California from wildfires and ensuring that we are ready requires a team effort. Wildfires are year-round. We were reminded of that just this last January. We must match this threat with a constant anticipatory stance and with readiness. This achievement today is one of really historic proportion for California. Governor Newsom, Director Tyler, and the entire CAL FIRE team, this achievement can't be underscored. This aerial fleet is no question a critical and historic juncture for our state's effort to combat wildfires. Mutual aid is another fundamental component of this partnership. In addition to protecting their own communities, our local government and tribal fire agencies make up the state's mutual aid system, the likes of which does not exist anywhere else but here in California. Cal OES maintains a fleet of more than 270 fire engines and other fire equipment that's positioned all over the state at all times. That equipment is staffed by a network of over 150 of our local government and tribal fire agencies. This vital partnership provides surge capacity for all of California to rapidly respond to wildfires and other emergencies when we call. We have also invested and employed new technology to understand threats sooner and respond quickly with the right resources in the right places. These decision tools, along with a posture of proactive and rapid response, are all components that today's fire conditions demand. The Fire Integrated Real-Time Intelligence System, what we call FIRIS, is sensor-based aircraft that's available at all times, 24/7, that can instantly deploy and give us real-time visual awareness of fire conditions and other types of emergencies and incidents in places that we otherwise couldn't get to, other than through aircraft. California now has a program where teams of local fire agencies are advanced positioned at high-risk areas as soon as we are aware of critical fire or storm weather threats, and they provide and are able to provide an instantaneous response. This is known as pre-position. And then finally, our Wildfire Forecast Threat Integration Center. It's a joint operation that Cal OES has with CAL FIRE, uses the latest technology and connects a lot of different data sets for wildfire forecasting and weather threat intelligence that is faster, earlier, and more precise, and most important is provides actionable information to first responders and to our communities so they can be ready. It takes this partnership and these resources, and it also takes the public's help to be ready for wildfires. So I urge you, be vigilant, be ready with a plan, and always heed the instructions of your local emergency officials. These are important things that you can do every day to protect yourselves and your family. So thank you, and it is my honor to introduce the Director of CAL FIRE, Joe Tyler.
Good afternoon. It is an honor to be here today to talk about the expansion of CAL FIRE's aviation firefighting fleet. My name is Joe Tyler. I am the Director and Fire Chief here at CAL FIRE. While it was cloudy this morning and it is cool today with rain in the forecast, we need to recognize that we are only 60 days out from the peak of our fire year. And we've seen our fire year truly as a year looking back at January 2025 in the Los Angeles basin. We need to recognize that in this 60 days going into the peak season, now is the time to create your defensible space and utilize cost-effective retrofits to harden your home. I'm not going to say that this is going to be the worst wildfire year ever. I don't think it takes much more than each and every one of us to recognize over the last decade of what we have been through in California, and we can expect more to come. The conditions have changed in California. The hotters are hotter, the dryers are drier. And as an example of that, as I was thinking about what I was going to say today, in 1991, I was laid off as a seasonal firefighter in the third week of September. That was the end of the fire season in 1991 in Shasta County. In 1993, the Santa Ana wind conditions were commonly in October and November, maybe early December, and now we see the situation where the Santa Ana winds of Southern California are through November, December, and as we saw into January. We recognize that Californians and the administration with the legislature have invested billions of dollars not only into protection, but also into resilience and prevention. In 2013, the United States Forest Service went into an agreement to try to acquire 7 C-130s. And by 2018, finding little progress and not being funded for operations and maintenance, they gave up the program. And it was the vision of the Aviation Management Unit here bringing it to my attention, asking us if we wanted to enter into an agreement to acquire the 7 C-130s that our U.S. Forest Service partners were involved in. We presented that to the administration, and the administration said yes. And by 2018, a letter was authored by the California administration to seek acquiring the 7 C-130s. In the 2019 National Defense Authorization Act, our congressionals authored the ability to transition these 7 C-130s to the state of California. It was in a cooperative relationship with the U.S. Coast Guard and the United States Air Force. We found ourselves in a situation in which the state of California was a technical advisor to a federal contracting process. As part of the National Defense Authorization Act, we required these 7 C-130s millions of dollars of parts and operational equipment transferred to the state that you see much around us. By 2023, we found ourselves where we continue to have delays. In the upcoming required military maintenance schedule was going to place these aircraft into a maintenance schedule without ever having flown many hours on them because of that time frame. So utilizing the support of Governor Newsom and our congressionals, the 2024 National Defense Authorization Act was signed, and on December 14th of 2023, 7 C-130s were transferred in its totality to the state of California. Immediately, the Aviation Management Unit went into retrofitting these aircraft that had already been maintained or maintenance up to date by our federal partners. And nearly 7 months later, the first C-130 behind you, Tanker 122, was in service, flying missions across the state of California. We continue to retrofit where Tanker 121 behind us was the second air tanker, and the third air tanker is somewhere in this hangar being retrofitted today. We plan to have the third air tanker available in the middle of the fire year, late summer this year, and continue to retrofit the rest, looking at opportunities to have them done by the end of 2026. The location of these air tankers, the first one is here in Sacramento at McClellan. The second air tanker will be placed in Fresno. The third air tanker will initially be here and then move to San Diego in Ramona. The fourth air tanker will be here at McClellan. The fifth, Paso Robles. The sixth, Chico. And the seventh will be Surge and Spare. As we watch the fire activity increase across the western United States, it draws more competition for fixed-wing aircraft between all of those states from our private firefighting partners. This is the right time to have these aircraft. This is the right time to continue to expand California's fleet. As we watch our federal forest agencies and their employees go through uncertain times, as the federal administration enacts reductions in force and toxic consolidations with our federal wildland firefighting forces, as we're entering the peak of the fire year, California and CAL FIRE stand ready to protect all people of California, regardless of the jurisdiction. The C-130s placed into service today are many resources to protect California while we continue to work with our private, state, federal, tribal partners to continue forest health and resilience for prescribed fire and good fire on the landscape, using both burn practitioners and cultural ecological knowledge from our Native American tribes, and at the same time assisting in reducing risk to our communities through community home hardening and defensible space. Now again, this is a proud moment for me. Tanker 122 was placed in service in the middle of the fire year last year, and we did not have an opportunity to have a celebration because it was more important to put it in the air to fight fires and to protect California, and so this is the first opportunity. So I can't walk away from this podium without thanking a lot of people. Our former senior aviation officer, Dennis Brown, and our current aviation officer, Marty Buno, for bringing the idea when only 23 operational Grumman S2T air tankers were available in the United States, and we have all 23 of them. Former Director Ken Pimlott, former Director Tom Porter for supporting the vision that I brought forward with the team about acquiring the C-130s. The entire CAL FIRE executive team who are in the back of the room here, both current and former, who have been able to join us, thank you for being here. The California Legislature and our congressional delegation, including the late Dianne Feinstein, Senator Alex Padilla, and Congressman Ken Calvert. Our aviation management unit and our family of Amentum Aviation mechanics and pilots, as well as LSI, making us get this done. Colson Aviation for providing the retardant delivery systems that are inserted in these C-130s. And of course, my partners from the United States Coast Guard and Air Force and U.S. Forest Service for their technical knowledge and the work they did. McClellan Park, where we are here today. Cal Forests and Sierra Pacific Industries for your support. Secretary Crowfoot for the California Natural Resources Agency. And last but not least, thank you, Governor Newsom, for your support, even when we had delays and I had to explain why it took so long to get them into service. It takes long for us to come together to be able to stand and commit to effecting positive change of the wildland fire environment and reducing the risk across California. So with that, it is my honor to ask our C-130 lead instructor pilot and the pilot who flew the first mission of Tanker 122 with his flight crew to the podium, Amentum pilot Brian Baker.
Thank you, Director Tyler. I would just like to say thank you to CAL FIRE leadership, the leadership and support of the state government in providing us, and from the United States Coast Guard, everybody that was involved in making this dream become a reality. The platform you see behind you is the exclamation point of the answer to the question: is the state doing everything it can to provide us with the best capability to protect the people and resources of the state of California from wildfire? And the answer to that question is emphatically yes. The increased capability and gallonage of 4,000 gallons of the C-130, the speed and the capability of the retardant delivery system that's installed in this particular aircraft is going to take our already successful aviation program to the next level. So I just wanted to say thank you to all the CAL FIRE leadership. Thank you to all the pilots and mechanics who their dedication and professionalism has gotten us to where we're at today. So I just wanted to say thank you very much. And I really look forward to the future capabilities and the increased capability that we are now going to have to do our job of suppressing wildfires in the state of California. And with that, it is my honor to introduce the Governor of the state of California, Gavin Newsom. Governor Newsom. Sorry, sir.
That's good. Thanks, Brian. Brian was my flight instructor, if you're wondering why I'm wearing my new garb. I appreciate, Brian, your leadership, your stewardship, your support, and your kind words about everybody that's gathered around, everybody from CAL FIRE, the mechanics, the folks that had a dream and made it a reality and have been persistent in pursuit of that dream. I want to thank you, Chief, for your tenacity on this. Your pride was well on display here. I know how meaningful this moment is to you and your team and the folks behind you, because this is a big deal. There's not another state in the country that can lay claim to a moment like this. There's not another state in the country that is as resourced as the state of California is as it relates to its aerial fighting fleet. It's in fact the largest in the world, the largest civilian aerial fighting fleet anywhere in the world is right here in the state of California. And our state of mind has always been that good enough never is, that we have to step up our game. The challenges that were laid out, you heard the comments about the notion of seasonality now being disabused, the fact that we had one of the worst fires in California history in the middle of the winter in January, where we had a fire attached to 100-mile-an-hour winds, one of the most devastating and deadly wildfires in our state's history just a few months ago only underscores the urgency of this moment, the urgency of continuing to make additional progress. I want to just briefly contextualize this project and highlight some of the efforts that are underway, some of the efforts that are sacrosanct that we will commit to, hopefully for many, many years to come, despite any challenges and headwinds as it relates to uncertainty in budgets and the like. We have close to doubled the investments in the last number of years at CAL FIRE. We have significantly increased investments in aerial fleet well beyond the C-130Hs. We've invested in the Nighthawks and all the new technology that behind it, including providing that night vision capacity so that we're running 24/7 as it relates to firefighting suppression. As you heard a moment ago, we've invested in state-of-the-art technology as it relates to access to tools that the Pentagon provides, the tools that private contractors like Lockheed provide, the integration of those tools, the stacking of technology, the utilization of artificial intelligence. People come from all across the globe to learn more about how it's being done through the Office of Emergency Services and CAL FIRE. We're proud of that. We're also mindful we need to do more. TechnoSilva is one of those companies that a number of years ago was one of the first that went through a new procurement process. We recognized we needed to change the procurement, that we don't have time. We're impatient as it relates to testing these tools of technology, that we needed to iterate. And so that procurement capacity now has expanded, and it's allowed us to make the kind of investments that was just noted as it relates to some of the investments in predictive technology, weather, all the consternation that many have, many should have, around cuts to NOAA and other critical agencies. You should rest assured that California's investments provide, I think, some solace because we'll maintain them as it relates to weather monitoring, as it relates to prediction with the integration of our intelligence centers and our fusion centers and the work we're doing as it relates to stacking that through the FIRIS system that was just highlighted a moment ago. All critical tools in order to advance early suppression and prediction. That early suppression and prediction has also been aided by over 1,000 new AI-enhanced cameras that are now being deployed all throughout the state of California. I'll remind you the goal, and it is a goal with deep pride and purpose, is to provide the kind of broad-scaled suppression capacity so that we can keep 95% of these fires from never going over 10 acres. And these guys do this every single year. It is remarkable. You've heard me say it over and over and over and over again. In this business, you often don't get credit for saves. That's baseball. But in this business, these guys deserve unbelievable credit for the amount of things that don't become headlines. The people that they've saved, the lives and property, every single day. It's remarkable. Hundreds and hundreds of fires the last few weeks you never heard about. And that's good news. We're not naive, though, that we're entering in, as the chief said, another difficult fire season. There's been some predictions about what this one means, particularly as it relates to some of the later rains, as it relates to the grasses. They're green right now as they start to turn. And obviously, we need to prepare for that and make sure that we're continuing to resource with our pre-positioning assets, our mutual aid program, the kind of scale, again, and scope of investments that the taxpayers of California are deserving. Two quick and final points. We also have been doing more, not just in terms of aiding our suppression, but we also are aiding in our prevention with unprecedented investments in vegetation and forest management. We've heard people loudly and clearly. We can't make up for 100 years of what wasn't done. And we're not looking in the rearview mirror, we're looking right out the front. And we're focused on what we can do today. As you know, one of my first acts as governor, we didn't wait for these devastating fires. One of my first acts as governor was doing an emergency proclamation to fast track some critical vegetation and forest management projects. We created a new wildfire task force that led to an action plan with 99 specific wildfire action plans. We need to put a new dashboard up to make us more accountable to achieving our goals. We have 10x'd the investments, 10x the investments in this space. $2.5 billion has been invested. Over 2,200 projects have been completed or are underway. 1.9 million acres were treated just between 2021 and 2023, 730,000 acres in calendar year 2023 alone. We have never achieved the kind of scale of that kind of investment in the past, and no, it's not enough. And that's why just a few weeks ago, I did another emergency declaration, an emergency proclamation. And interestingly and coincidentally, today, the first project under that emergency proc is now taking shape up in Humboldt. And the goal of that proclamation is to identify a need, and with that emergency proclamation, to actually get the project up and running within 30 days. You might recall we did something called CalVTP, which is a programmatic EIR, fancy word, for a 20 million acre forest management effort. But there's small projects that were falling through the gaps, and this closes the gap in terms of those small projects and allows us to move forward with administrative oversight that allows us to make decisions quickly. I can go on, and I really can't go on and on, talk about our LiDAR technology, our 3D mapping technology, and talk about all the other AI that we're experimenting with. But at the end of the day, it's about people, and it's about the pride in their work. And so I just want to end as I began, expressing gratitude to all the men and women in uniform. I've seen it firsthand. You don't have to impress me with the work you're doing. I see it over and over and over and over again. Your exhaustion, time away from your family, your sacrifice, the risks you take to your life to protect people and property, and that's what makes good states great states. And so it's with a deep sense of pride and spirit that I want to just extend further gratitude to all of you, not just for the work you've done, but the work we're going to expect of you in the next days, weeks, months, and sadly over the course of many, many years. Final point, we need federal support. 57% of the state's land is federal, 3% is in the hands of the state. I'll repeat that. 57% of the forest land in California is federal responsibility. 3% is the state. Now, we're not here to focus on who's to blame. We're focused on what to do. We have a shared stewardship agreement with the federal administration, but we need to see it funded. This administration just cut 10% of the U.S. Forest Service budget. You can't even make that up. That's not risk-taking, that's recklessness. And so we'll do our part, but we need stronger partnership. And final words in closing, that's not a political statement that's partisan. We thanked Alex Padilla. We thanked former Senator Dianne Feinstein. I remember my last meeting with her was about these two assets and the 7 that we're able to bring together. Quite literally, my last meeting with her. And Republican Congressman Calvert. And I want to thank the congressman for having our backs, for stepping up and recognizing the urgency of this moment. And so it was right that he was recognized because he played a big role in getting us here as well. And that's the way this should be. We're all in this together. It's not red and blue. It's not rural versus urban. We're all in this together. And so that's the spirit that defines our approach to emergency management, preparation, and it's the approach to partnership. And truly, I'd be remiss, final words, if I didn't acknowledge our partners in the private sector as well. Sierra Pacific and others, I see leadership here. I want to thank them for being principal partners as well in advancing our collective efforts. All hands on deck. Well, our fire season never went away, but it's about to peak. Be prepared, take things seriously, and make sure one thing more than anything else, that you override with any other consideration. Property can be replaced, but lives cannot. Listen to the experts, listen to the men and women of law enforcement and emergency response when they ask for support, when they ask you to leave, to evacuate, take it very, very seriously. Thank you all very, very much, and we appreciate all the great work. And thank you to our federal partners as well, the Coast Guard and the Air Force. Thank you, everybody.